Welcome back to the Warcraft 3 Fight Night here in Heroes Hearth. Grubby and I stand ready to present to you yet another epic best of 5 series between two very good players, once again from Russia. Russia is just such a powerhouse country in Warcraft 3 competitive these days. We bring you ShaDai, representing the Challenger faction and the Undead race, playing against the reigning champion Deathnote in the human colors that has looked so stellarly good 2 weeks ago against Napo.
Yeah, it was really incredible because Natepaul is right now the more known player, I suppose, in the European scene.
Yep.
Very strong Night Elf player, had already taken a number of victories in the Fight Night. And Deathnote going up against him, we would say that Deathnote was semi-confident. He was feeling okay. Natepaul was very confident. But Deathnote edged out a victory in 3-2 in some of the most epic games we have seen in Fight Night yet. Now, Deathnote will be tested in a different matchup. He is of the human race, and he is facing the much maligned undead adversary, those that supposedly pose the biggest threat to human right now, aside from another human.
Yeah, I think humans in general, they have little reason to complain in the grand scheme of things. I think against Night Elves, their matchup is very solid. Against Orcs, they do traditionally very well. The only thorn in their side traditionally seems to be Undead ever since, I would say a couple of months now. And let's see if, Deathnote has what it takes to weather the storm, or if ShaDai, I would say coming into this game, maybe as the slight underdog on paper, has what it takes to dethrone him. And I say this on paper, Grubby, because I'm not sure if you had the time to check out some of the interviews that we made, but true, in ladder, Deathnote seems to have the upper hand. But when it comes to cup matches or tournament matches, ShaDai traditionally does very well against him.
That's interesting. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance this time to check out the interviews, which is a pity because they're always so nice to watch.
Nice background, by the way. I like it.
Thanks. That is interesting, Kendric, because ShaDai...
I think he's even 9-1. It's quite dominant, actually.
In matches, wow.
In competitive matches, yeah.
He doesn't really have a lot of big stage experience, but he's played a lot of online tournaments. The America's Cups, and he plays on NetEase, just like Deathnote, which is the very competitive Asian/Chinese Warcraft 3 server. So ShaDai definitely has earned his stripes online, but the question always is, will we ever see the likes of him offline? Same can be said about Deathnote, though. So apparently, according to Kendric, my man here, ShaDai is doing pretty good in their direct head-to-head, but on ladder, Deathnote is winning. It's an interesting juxtaposition of two different fields of success.
Yeah, absolutely true. And I mean, it's going to be so interesting to see. This matchup is super exciting. By the way, I'm trying to find the game. DN. Okay, gotcha. Let's see if I can get in. Do you have to mind capitalization?
Sorry?
Do you have to mind capitalization in custom games? Normally you don't, right?
Don't need.
Is there anything?
You can just copy paste. Just wanted to say thank you for the big cheer bits from 9 Spoons with the 1500 bits before our first game is even underway. Very, very nice.
Yeah. I mean, 2 weeks ago, the support was absolutely insane. So thank you guys so much for some reason, I can't find the game.
Are you on the wrong server?
No, because I saw your message and how you joined. I see you in my friends list.
Oh. You're going to have to restart Battle.net.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. So I'm pretty sure I didn't make any typos.
So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me, as we try to get Kendric in the game, to explain the format. You've all tuned in to see a best of 5 Undead versus Human. 3 wins, and you are the victor. And the winner will get $200 and the loser will get $100. But more importantly than that, the winner stays on in a King of the Hill-esque system until the next fight night. Every 2 weeks, there's a fight night. Until the next fight night, to do it all again, to try to get a bigger legacy, more prize money. And of course, there is a bounty as well. All the cheer bits, they pile up together to become part of an ever-increasing bounty. And how do players get those, Kendric?
Yeah, the bounty, of course, consists, as Grubby said, of all the bits on Twitch that are being shared, and the majority of them, I think 70% it is, go straight into the prize pool, and the champion, if at any given, I think no one has ever done it, so, but if any champion at any given point says, you know what, I don't want to fight that rival, that challenger, I'm going to chicken out and take the pot with me, then not only does he get the money, of course, that he earned every game, every best of 5, but he takes the pot with him. So it's a cool move, you know, if you're not confident for whatever reason, you may not have enough practice or whatever, but so far nobody has done it.
I see it as the pre-happy bounty.
Yeah.
As soon as we call in happy, someone will run.
Definitely true. Speaking of big calibers and really, you know, well-renowned players, I did get some feedback from the two players today that they were practicing very avidly, and Deathnote in particular, being the workhorse that we know him to be, he practiced against players such as Side, on NetEase, and Anchi. So there's a very good players who basically stood ready to give him a little bit of Undead practice.
And what about ShaDai? Do you know about his practice coming up to this?
He couldn't give us any names, but he said that he would train very vigorously. And a little bit of a background story for ShaDai as well. I'm not sure which cup it was, but he recently defeated Foggy 4-3. I think it must have been one of the Rust Cups, maybe. So
Wow.
Both players actually giving us many reasons to be hyped about this matchup.
It's okay, he doesn't need to give any names. All he needs to do is take names. Come here, take names, and kick behinds. That's what we expect from him. And the first game is underway, ladies and gentlemen. The first map is going to be Echo Isles. A quick sneak peek at the vetoes reveals that Deathnote has vetoed Twisted Meadows.
Mm-hmm.
And our Undead player, ShaDai, has vetoed Terranus Stand.
Yeah, what do you think about that Terranus stand with the Undead player being the one who bans it out?
Makes sense. It is the furthest route to harass an opponent, much further than Echo. Both Echo and TS are prime expansion maps for both races, but especially for human. And counter expansion on Terranus Stand is notoriously difficult because, well, a human will fast creep the mercenary camp and then harass an undead expansion. You can't do Dreadlord Expo there if they respond. So you're pretty much stuck to one base versus two base, and they just have too much advantage. Be it AM first, MK first. Smart ban by ShaDai. First map is going to be Echo Isles. We have an Archmage opener against Death Knight Harass style.
And Grubby, you know, the whole hype around the Dreadlord and the fast expansion style is really something I'm looking forward to. Even Chinese players like 120, you know, who've been defying the Dreadlord for as long as they could, they're now playing with it. You know, we saw him playing it against very renowned players like TH. To mixed success, the Dreadlord still seems to have an aura of wonkiness around him where he doesn't always work, but if he works, he looks pretty good.
Yeah. And in 3 years, I heard Happy will use him as well.
Yeah. Happy still... I mean, Happy plays... I'm not sure if he's innovated the whole matchup, but he plays the Death Knight harass style so well and executes it to almost perfection that I don't think for him there is so much reason to really rely on the Dreadlord. But maybe one day, you know, it's not just a question of how well can you execute a strategy, but how predictable do you want to be at some point.
Yeah, well, Happy doesn't mind being predictable. Let's see what kind of player ShaDai is like. I know very little about him, actually, so I'm curious to discover his style together with you guys.
Yeah.
And I'll be sure to fill you in about what is happening. Now, ShaDai's tech was a little bit late. He had slightly more resources than he required when he pressed the tech button. Few seconds off. Happy would have teched right away, but, you know, not too big of a deal. Now, Archmage is level 2. Death Knight is 1.4 with the Claws of Attack.
Yeah, the Death Knight here trying to go for the iconic harass into the poor peasant line with a couple of skeletons here at his aid. Gets 1 for his efforts, but is likely not going to achieve that much more because Deathnote hasn't really undertaken any major risks with militias out in the open, so the timing a little bit off. Of course, also ShaDai took his own time to creep a little bit first. and then went on to, march his way over to the human side of things. He found a Claws of Attack +6, certainly not the worst item, although a Death Knight traditionally wants to have a little bit more mana for his efforts, so maybe a Circlet or a Mantle of Intelligence would have been preferred.
Yeah, that's true. Circlet would have been great. This clause is mostly something that he will keep for a Lich, tier 2, or maybe Naga Sea Witch if he's feeling frisky. But it's not too bad to have a Death Knight to attack a little bit harder in these moments here. Now Death Note going for the expansion. Coil Reach of Trapper, nice stop by Death Note, and auto attack attempt by ShaDai, but he does not get it. Coil on the Ogre Mage, beautifully done by Death Note, stopping it at just 105 health, the Ogre Mage. Coil comes in, he last hits it, maximum waste by the Undead, minimum losses by the human, and now a Coil on a 50 HP peasant. This was wonderfully done by Death Note. He's looking really, really solid. And with the gloves and the claws, he can zone out the DK like it's nothing. So I think that DK will ride off into the sunset with his Cryptiant and go do something else.
Yeah, these are the tragic moments of the Undead players when they have such grand plans, but they don't just land the coil when it needed to. And he could have prevented a huge chunk of experience for that level 3 for the Archmage, which is so important with the level 2 Water Alley for the early game. Of course, he gets a nice XP chunk towards the Aura for himself, which with the Fiends is so much of importance to enable this strong kiting early on against the massive footies. And we can see actually how Death Note really relies on a whole squadron of footmen here, going up to 7 footies, maybe even builds an 8th one too. And I think that is really the backbone for the human with an expansion plan, to have these frontline units to keep the Fiends busy, to keep them at bay. Oftentimes when you see human players going for only 5 or 6, they struggle quite a bit with just so few units.
Yeah, that's true. It's good to point out those footy numbers, and it's also about redundancy. If you lose 2, you still got 5. You still have a lethal surrounding squad. And another point is keeping them healthy, not just having each of them drop to low life because you're trying to chase Crypt Fiends at the wrong time. That's important as well. Having these healthy footman packs here and keeping them healthy until defend upgrade, if you go for it, and there we go, as I say, he starts it. When that comes out, their health is worth so much more. Now, tech for Death Note has also already been started very, very early on, very brisk tech, and ShaDai with level 1 DK, he's going to have trouble with that Death Knight to actually make an impact. Like, I don't really know what he's doing here, to be honest.
Needs to be very cautious. I mean, Death Note is really holding all the reins of control in his hands right now. He even pimped up his Archmage a little bit, bought Boots of Speed. So now the Death Knight in particular, without any aura help, is definitely going to take so much damage. And as you said, Grubby looks a little bit lost there on his Undead horse, needs to definitely ride back home to safety. And the Fiends, they're not really, creeping the green spot, or they're not really doing anything with the Lich. They're really trying to, or it seems like ShaDai really tries to brute force his way in against Death Note right now, who's already going for a surround on the Fiend, and that is a big catch right there. The Nova comes through, but not enough. Looks like the Death Knight wasn't even there to drop a coil, but level coil can even only heal as much. And with the shield upgrade now, these footies are a nice little early game bulwark against the range-piercing attacks from the Fiends.
Yeah, anytime a Fiend is surrounded by full HP footies with defense, it's not much point really to coil it. You're just prolonging the inevitable and wasting mana, throwing away good money after bad. And now with the claws, Death Note is piling on the pain train on Fiends. Lich almost got surrounded. The DK levels up from 3 Skellies, which chased a Footman. Is it because the Skellies were so fast, or because the Footman still had defend upgrade on? Yeah, Archmage going full ninja here.
Yeah, that is the power of an Archmage, level 3, who's got some good early game items, the claws, the gloves, and the boots. Even has some Dust of Appearance here, just in case ShaDai, of course, was to go for the Burrow upgrade with the Fiends later on. So, really good stuff coming in from Death Note. 2 level 2 Water Elementals right now, also bolstering the front lines of the humans. And I think Death Note at this point, not only does he have his expansion secured, he's not even he didn't really take any severe damage economically, No peasants were killed. He even goes for a second barracks for that matter. He could transition now at tier 2 into a second hero and maybe mass rifles.
Yeah, it would be so sick if he suddenly goes like mass upgraded Footman. Like, what are you doing? The sword and shield upgrade really help against destroyers. Yeah, but it should be riflemen. Yeah, there we go with the riflemen being produced. Very few towers by Deathnote, I want to point out to you guys. Do you remember the days? Not all of you will. Some of the viewers here are old school, I know. Some of you may be new. The meta from 2000, I don't know, 6 to 2015, human made mass towers for 10 years long. They expand, they tower up, and they get tanks. It really changed, didn't it? Deathnote, with barely a tower a base, saved so much money on not making all that, and instead is going to rush out Riflemen, which when you think about it, they're kind of like towers. About 500 health, piercing damage, ranged, it's kind of like towers. But they're mobile, which means you can actually creep with them, you can attack with them. So human gets a lot more map control with this.
Yeah. Grubby, you know what? The style you just described, the human versus undead style, is still sometimes, or quite often actually, being played by a Chinese player, Romantic. And he's like a blast from the past. And whenever I see him play, producing those tanks and building bazillions of towers with masonry upgrades, a cold chill runs down my spine. It's just not a very pleasant style to play against.
You're an undead player, so you don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a lane player, so I do like it. Deathnote now coming in, piling some hurt on the Death Knight. He does have an invulnerability potion, so Death Knight will be fine for now. He's going to have his finger over the invulnerability potion. Meanwhile, Lich and Dark Ranger going for the Rifleman. Won't quite get it, though.
Yeah, and the third hero addition from ShaDai makes a lot of sense, too, with the Dark Ranger providing a little bit of extra skeletons here against the Rifleman. Normal damage does very well traditionally against them. The Lich gets the level up level 2 as well. The Archmage is completely zoned out, but the Mountain King is doing his dirty work there with the remaining forces of the human taking out Fiend after Fiend. And every Footman you trade for a Fiend is definitely a trade well invested. Even if you trade 2 Footies and a Rifle for a Fiend, he can produce, you know, that's the main difference. He can pump out those units, Deathnote that is. He will be there with a higher food count in no time. He can also provide, of course, the money to afford great items. Later on, healing scrolls, protection scrolls. And the Mountain King also with Boots of Speed, you know, the luxurious life when the money is there, going a little bit of shopping. And I like it.
Some new kicks on the Mountain King, and he's only 1 year old. What a pampered Mountain King. What a pampered little MK. And, you know, Deathnote, on the meantime, is already going to tier 3.
Yeah.
No tower in his main base, straight to tier 3, rifles. I mean, he's living the life, really. I mean, he doesn't even have first world problems.
I don't think he has any problems right now.
No problems. He just had too good of a start. And I mean, ShaDai, he's got to find some kind of magical, mysterious way to come back into this game. But Deathnote, he really upped his game, you know, those surrounds that came in, the cleanliness of his expansion. I've beaten Deathnote before with Undead, but he looks so much better now. That practice that you said, Kendric, from the interview that he put in against Side and, what was it, Anji or something?
From China, yeah.
Anji, yeah. It really paid off. He's looking really, really good.
Yeah, looking really strong. I mean, there is 3 undead heroes, and normally the undead heroes are the scourge, no pun intended, of every human player. But when they're not with the levels there, you know, when they don't have the items, when they don't have the XP, they remain rather harmless. And of course, the Fiend numbers are atrocious right now. It's an absolute disaster for ShaDai. Only 1 measly Fiend to reinforce the army. Goes for Abominations now, of course, a late game counter against the mass rifles. But what is 1 Abomination really going to do when there's a Mountain King level 2, soon to be level 3, when there are so many Riflemen also 1-0 upgraded, and really there is just money coming in. There's no money that Deathnote has to spend on workers, on lost units, really. He can just produce to his heart's content and have a mighty bank, almost 900 gold in the bank right now.
I mean, he expanded with 2 peasant losses, Kendric. Normally, when you expand, when you're an undead and you're facing a human that expands, you have to cancel Ivory Tower, the Scout Tower, several times. You want to kill at least 3 peasants, maybe 4. You want to damage footies. You want to get your level 2 out. These are kind of the standard expectancies of the matchup, where it draws to be balanced. It allows Undead to finally do extra damage, to counter-expand. But when you start missing your usual targets early on, only 2 peasants, coil miss, no creep steals, it just adds up, really. And it becomes very hard to find light at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a little bit of hope now in the ranks of ShaDai. You know, he found some relatively good items. The DK had to use the greater mana already,
I bet this is going to be an aggressive TP.
Yeah, it's quite aggressive, you know. Definitely some water on the backside of ShaDai here. Not really the best spot to kite and run away from. So he does have a TP. If things get really sour, he could pull the trigger and go for an emergency exit. Level 3 for the Mountain King, by the way, who found good items himself. The Pendant of Energy is a welcome sight here as well, just like the Ring of Regeneration. The Lich is currently being focused down. The TP was probably transferred. No, it wasn't even. So there was no chance to evacuate. And ShaDai, whose main damage dealer with the Lich, has now fallen. I don't think has any other choice than to peace out, lick his wounds, and really just come back later. But is there even going to be a later, Grubby? I'm not sure. He tries to go for a Temple of the Damned here, Banshee upgrade currently in the making, but I think it's just too little too late at this point. Deathnote looks so well established in this game.
Yeah, it does look like that. Some pretty uncanny mistakes here by ShaDai. He coiled his Lich when it was 80% life. Maybe he expected a Stormbolt would come in, but when you see that and the cooldown is available, any dueling World of Warcraft player, any MOBA player knows, hey, healing cooldown just got used. That's when I can focus fire the Lich, Stormbolt, him, her, him I think, and take him down. And that's exactly what Deathnote did. He saw the coil, he's like, hey, that was bad, and he kills the Lich.
And it gets even worse now that Deathnote has been sitting on level tier 3 for so long, you know, with the Orb of Fire. Even if that coil had been pulled a little bit later, the healing would have been greatly reduced, 35% to be exact. So this really turns the tide around when it comes to focusing heroes almost. You know, the Paladin is here now, the trifecta of human heroes has been completed. Reduced healing for the undead, increased nuke potential for the human. This is really, I mean, just where the human wants to be. He even goes aggressively into the undead side of things. Even the mercenary camp was still there for the taking. What item is he going to find? We're going to see in a bit. Drops the Stormbolt and is going to secure it. The Uther Paladin here picked another Pendant of Energy. Man, the items are looking really good for Deathnote too.
Honestly, if I'm Deathnote, I get that Pendant of Energy. I'm disappointed. You know why? You're already winning. Why use all your luck on one game? Save some for the next. That's how it works, right? Is that how chance works?
Yeah, all right. I mean, next game he's going to find rings and nothing but rings.
Yeah, he found too many Pendant of Energy. Like, I just destroyed that Pendant of Energy right now.
Okay, guys, we have another engagement here. This could potentially be a game-deciding one here. ShaDai going in very aggressively, though. The Abominations are getting pummeled, though, left, right, and center. The healing is reduced once again because of that Archmage focus. The heal is real as well from the Paladin in the backline. A couple of Riflemen are falling, but that is nothing compared to the pain that ShaDai has to endure right now. The undead bodies can only take this much. Tries to go for a little bit of back and forth. The Banshees are now in the fight as well, but the Water Elementals completely unrivaled. No Destroyers up in the air. The Mountain King seems to be the target of choice right now. Takes a little bit of focus damage. When in doubt, focus on the enemy heroes. He saves him with Cool, Calm, and Collection. But is it going to be enough, though? The rifles are starting to fall in. ShaDai, this is probably, as absurd as it may sound, the better fight, or the best fight that he had all game long.
An Abomination with 15 life is running away from 2 Water Elementals that have curse on them. What's gonna happen? And they attacked the wrong thing.
Never lucky. I don't think they're gonna be done chasing anytime soon, though. The Fiend might also be a nice snack for them to feast upon on. No, they're being slowed by the Black Citadel, and the danger, the threat is over for now. That was a relatively good fight, though, for ShaDai, I'm not gonna lie. The statues were unchallenged. The Abominations were saved. Not all of them, but at least one. And the Banshees, you know, with the curse, doing a pretty formidable job at crippling the human forces a little bit, you know, limiting their DPS.
That's true. Now, Deathnote has been running a very tight ship on lumber. And he's at 146 lumber right now. He's got 1, 2, 3, 5 peasants on lumber. What happened there? Did he bring militia in the previous fight? I didn't notice it.
No, I don't think so.
Did he kill them himself with towers? I don't really know what happened. Or did he never make more than 5? I don't really know, but he's low on lumber. That means it can be difficult for him to tech switch. It can be difficult for him to reproduce sometimes. So ShaDai, like you said, he did a lot better than we had reason to expect. He's going to try and keep fighting. Probably still a loss, but you know, you can make your opponent feel bad about a victory if you make it more difficult than they hoped or expected.
Absolutely. And now keep in mind that the Death Knight is completely naked. No item on him, no TP. no invul. So whenever a hero gets focused now, that needs to be taken very, very seriously. Speaking of which, though, the Mountain King, diving deep with only an invul and a scroll of healing, is now on a relentless chase against the Lich, who's protected by the anti-magic shell. So he lives for now. The Fiend, I think, is being almost ignored here. Cool guys don't look at kills sometimes. They turn away from the explosion without looking. But yeah, ShaDai, I mean, he's outnumbered 3-1 at this point. The priests are there as well to dispel in the case of an emergency. The stun goes through, the damage does not, but the immobilization here, that is definitely what matters to Deathnote right now.
I really respect ShaDai staying in this game, and
Same, true.
It's good for the fans, it's good for himself, and it's although Deathnote is like winning, like none of this seems very realistic for a repeat because no map is quite like Echo. So if Deathnote, he had the game won 15 minutes ago, but ShaDai keeps not leaving, and it makes Deathnote be like, okay, it might make him less tryhard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's not finishing the game, and he's not quite getting on with it. So I don't know. He could feel like impatient, and that's something that in the process of a best of 5 could come back to harm him a bit. Of course, it's totally up to him. Everyone is in charge of their own mindset. But either way, it's a great thing that ShaDai keeps trying.
Yeah. And I like what Deathnote is doing here. He's playing it slowly, you know. He's waiting for the 3-0 upgrades for the rifles, which is definitely going to add a big damage boost here. He takes one of the few camps left available. The level 3 on the Paladin here, of course, enables bigger heals, bigger nukes, depending on what he needs. And I fully agree with you, Grubby. I mean, you know, it's late for both players. They are even ahead 1 hour compared to us. So for them, it's right now 2:30. And, you know, oftentimes in a series, the player with a better stamina wins, you know, with more endurance to power through a long night. I mean, they're all gamers, hardcore gamers, that is. But yeah, I shouldn't be taken aback, you know. Should definitely be taken into consideration, these things.
Yeah, that's true. But Deathnote, like you said, you know, both of them, I'm expecting them to be used to this because they play a lot of online tourneys and they can go like this. They play online American tourneys. They have schedules like this. One time I hosted Deathnote and he streamed 6 hours longer than he intended because he's like, cool, I got so many viewers.
He told me about that. Yeah, he streamed until 8 o'clock in the morning.
The passion is definitely there, worry you not. So don't worry about the time zones or anything.
But Grubby, here come the trumpets and the war drums and the horn. The human army with a great symphony of inner fire is going to take that game. There was no dispel anymore. ShaDai just focused all of his resources onto the Banshees in the backline. No destroyers. They would have gotten sniped anyways by the rifles. So yeah, it was a one-sided game for the most part. Still, the fighting spirit needs to be respected from ShaDai. And, you know, it's definitely understandable why he stays in the game for that long. Because not only, you know, for the mental aspects, but also there's always a chance, you know, his competitive record against Deathnote traditionally has been very good. So why not give it a shot, especially in a favorable matchup?
It's twice as bad now if your stats are to be believed. You said it was 9-1 for ShaDai. Now it's 9-2.
Yeah.
So his win rate just halved. That's gonna hit you hard.
All right. Yeah, overall, a nice start, a nice way to start this. Of course, a human undead is a matchup also that we're not really used to seeing a lot on Fight Night. We've seen a lot of Orc Night Elf human over the last couple of weeks, so it's always nice to see humans and undeads in the ring. And if I recall correctly, the first map, what was it?
The first map was Echo, and now I'm hosting
first loser map,
Last Refuge.
Yeah.
It's cool to see Uther versus Arthas in this undead versus human when the reforged beta seems so imminent.
What is your favorite thing about the reforged leaks? What is your favorite model?
I love the shaman.
This is my top 3.
He's in your top 3, okay?
Yes.
Shaman. I like the 6 paladin dudes that are not in the main game.
Yeah.
You know, not the buzz cut, but the other 6 from the campaign.
Didn't even remember there were that many paladins in the campaign.
No, and I wonder if Blizzard remembered it. They're like, yeah, let's redo all the models. And they go in the campaign and there's like 15 heroes, like purple Dreadlord, green Dreadlord, orange Dreadlord. And they have to remake all of them. Oh, yeah. And I like the big Dreadlord.
The chubby one?
Yeah, the chubby one. He has a portrait just like Ricky Gervais in the bathtub, you know.
Yeah. What do you think about the paladin haircut, which has probably been the most controversial thing about Reforged ever?
I don't really like it, and I hope they change it.
Yeah, a little bit
It's
more hair.
It's a bit too modern.
Yeah. Overall, good stuff, though. I'm very much positively surprised, especially how they blend into the landscape. Of course, a little bit more contrast here and there, but overall, I think we're on the right tracks. And, you know, guys, less than a week, or just a tiny little bit more than a week, I guess, and we're going to have BlizzCon upon us, and we're going to finally see what the game really looks like and, you know, what Blizzard really has in store for us.
Yeah, it's going to be super, super cool. A lot of cool news coming up. There's been rumors about Diablo 4, maybe an expansion for WoW, maybe extra content for Overwatch. And of course, that Reforged panel on the second day of BlizzCon. Yes. We saw that they dedicated 45 minutes to it. I'm very curious to see what they're going to tell us about Reforged. I saw there was a playable demo of Reforged at BlizzCon, so I'm sure there'll be people coming with lots of new info and content from BlizzCon. So exciting times coming up. For now, we are in the second game of Deathnote versus ShaDai. Deathnote took the first map, just like I think he did against Napo.
Yeah, very true. Twice in a row, he shows up strong here in the Fight Night on HeroesHearth Warcraft 3. Very cool. Now, Last Refuge, of course, is a completely different map, is a completely different beast than Echo Isles. As you said, Echo Isles is still in a very unique spot, the smallest map, the most predictable one. And on Last Refuge, I think, especially Undead players can do cool and fancy maneuvers when it comes to stalling out and delaying a human expansion, or just the creeping, you know. You can pull out the creeps, you can cause them to buff themselves up and interfere some militias. Yeah, there's some cool action here potentially for ShaDai.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up, because I think Last Refuge has that more than any other map.
Yeah.
There's these 4 creep camps really close to each other, and human usually is only interested in the expansion. But the other 3 camps can be persuaded for the right price.
Yeah.
To bait them into the position of the expansion, and all of them, in a show of extreme solidarity, will jump to the aid of the expansion creeps and just slam the human player. If Undead micros his puppeteering master well, that could be a threat. And for that reason, many humans don't even fast expand against Undead anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what Deathnote brought to the table. Will he expand anyway? Does he know how to counterplay it? Or will he play that one-base tier 3 style?
Yeah, and you know, the Acolyte trying to be a little bit cheeky here. We see exactly what we mentioned, Grubby and I. You know, the Acolyte trying to be that one troublemaker that messes up the creeps a little bit and puts them in a situation or in a location where the human player doesn't really want to fight them. The Acolyte also slew a swine, one of those piggies earlier, so there was immediate corpse usage for the Undead player to summon those 2 skeletons, and we all know what good players sometimes can do, especially Undead players with the Acolyte, stealing creeps, maybe even executing a unit. There's only the sky is the limit for these little workers sometimes, especially if your name is Happy120. But let's see if ShaDai can also do it, pull it off.
Let's see how good of a puppet master he is. I can confirm that Deathnote will go to expand. He made 2 more peasants than as usual. Mm-hmm. He made 1 more farm than as usual. So he's absolutely going to expand. He has decided he can do this. He killed the Acolyte before moving on with anything, or at least the Acolyte killed itself.
Yeah.
And the DK is playing very passively, because it's all about that militia moment.
Yes.
Note the DK. Summoning skeletons. Seeing the militia. It's all about this moment. Can he slow down the militia? Can he pull in any creeps?
It's nighttime, of course. The golems never sleep, so this is definitely working in ShaDai's favor right now. The net comes through, the ensnare, only hitting a footman though. The malicious, the MVP, they have made it to the target location. This is very good. No damage was taken. Another ensnare came through against the militia. The rock golem is saying hello and probably goodbye in a bit. Yep, does not want to be bothered here. And this is where it really matters. Level 2 for the Archmage. The big ogre is the biggest minion. Fake pumps goes for the death girl here, but he gets it. ShaDai this time with a positive steal. Finally getting some extra experience into his bank account. Level 2 soon with the aura to make this harass even more effective.
God, Kendric, this was so well done by Deathnote. He didn't get pulled off he didn't get disturbed by any of the creeps. The way he controlled everything, the way He has obviously trained hard against this type of pool micro.
Yeah.
How not to piss off the creeps, he really mastered it. None of the creeps really did anything of import. But ShaDai, despite not getting that to work, did fantastically. As the creeps came in and failed their job to disrupt Deathnote, he coil stealed a trapper on like 20 life. It was very cutthroat, very sharp steal, but he got it. And then he did the fake coil animation on the Ogre Mage. Deathnote started attacking to follow up, and then the real coil came in. And it was just perfect. It's a lot of mind games, it's reaction speed.
Yeah.
And ShaDai won out there. So now the Death Knight is 1.8 level. Archmage is 2.5. Archmage could have been close to 3 and DK very far from 2. But this is much better. He gets 2 peasants, he's level 2.
Exactly. There's not a lot of experience that is left now for ShaDai to finally get to that level 2 here. Summons more skeletons, tries to find out the weakened workers. Only one of them in the yellow bar range, though. Now he needs to be careful on that Fiend. If there's another Footman surround with a little bit of wall elemental damage on top of it, this could be disastrous quite a bit. And the Footman here in the back as well. I love how Deathnote is splitting his forces to not even let those units go through. The coil has to be used. It's, of course, a big mana investment too, but well worth the effort now with the level 2. But great micro by Deathnote, really forcing the Death Coil out of the Death Knight. But overall, also well done by ShaDai, not losing his comms. So both players really showing us some spectacular micro action.
Yeah, what was amazing about Deathnote is that he put his peasants on the single space opening at the town hall and blocked the skeletons from finishing off. Oh, nice Footman surround on the Crypt Fiend. Great job by Deathnote. He gets a Crypt Fiend kill with defend upgrade, so there shall be no counterattacks. But yeah, he forced ShaDai to use a coil on a peasant that was nearly dead because the skeletons couldn't get to it. It's those little micro moves that stresses your opponent's mana pool beyond what they really wanted.
Yeah. Exactly. And, now, of course, there is another set of skeletons in the base in the expansion of Deathnote. True, he loses a couple more units, a couple more peasants than last time, but overall, this expansion once again looks very stable. Look at the DK. Close in the reds already. One false move and he's going to be surrounded and getting taken out here. The Lich, of course, is a big boon, but also the Fiends. Very hurt. Everything is bruised and battered from the Undead side of things, so he has to be extremely cautious, can't commit to this harass as much as he would love to.
Yeah, and he's waiting for the Obsidian statue. He needs it in order to supercharge this push. He's got pretty good results so far, but Deathnote is going to be able to defend better and better. He has an Arcane Vault now, Water Elementals level 2, and a pretty lethal Archmage, again with that Claws and Gloves combination. Quick note to you, Kendric, did we update score yet?
Oh no, that is definitely something I'm going to do right now. Sorry about that, guys. Thanks for highlighting. We're going to do that right now. Score, of course, is 1-0 for Deathnote. And there it is.
Also, big thanks to Sovietikosas for more than $50 in cheer bits.
Wow.
Such a nice support. Thank you very, very much. Also, in name of the players.
Yes. The name of the production crew, the players, everyone at HeroesHearth, on behalf of Grubby and mine, thank you guys so much for the support on this fight night. 2 weeks ago has been amazing. We cracked that, that goal. We cracked it within an hour. And people like Soviet, Delarock, Liam, all the all-stars, but also the minor contributors, of course, cannot be overlooked. So thank you very much, guys, for the contribution.
Lich is level 1.4, still fairly far away from that. We see Backpack upgrade coming in for ShaDai, and he's going to use his 4th Crypt Fiend to bring Orb of Corruption so he can keep up the pressure. In the meantime, Deathnote hasn't really been forced to deviate much from his Game 1 plan. He's again got that really significant bank, 1400 gold. His tier 2 is finished. He's starting rifle production. Mountain King coming out. He's got 0 towers in his main base and only 1.5 on his expansion.
So greedy, isn't it?
So greedy! What the hell? Really?
Well, but when you don't feel the pressure, when you don't have to shed those sweat drops because you have an easy peasy early game, there's no need to. Finally goes for a 2nd tower here. The main is completely naked. There's absolutely nothing to defend if ShaDai was to deviate his attacks over there. And ShaDai, I feel like once again he's feeling the pressure, this ticking time bomb of when the double economy of the human player is just going to overwhelm him. So of course, the natural instinct could be to just, launch attack wave after attack wave onto the expansion. But Grubby, Do you think that's the right choice? Do you think maybe a little bit of creeping, buffing up your heroes could also be useful at this point?
Creeping is useful, but you gotta do it fast. I saw a lot of dead time by ShaDai. Standing here, standing there, not creeping, and then belatedly pushing. It's fine to do either one, but you gotta do it fast and decisively. Usually, we look at Happy, who innovates this matchup with his decision-making, I would say.
Yeah.
His strategy is usually nothing special, but his decision-making is amazing. And we typically see him getting a lot of pressure. This is a good start for ShaDai, by the way. Great Destroyer, Footman, Annihilation, Water Elementals also. But we see him typically banging on the front door, killing farms, killing Town Hall, killing towers. It may not be fast, but it's a non-stop pressure. Oh, he didn't finish that Water Elemental. That's like 70 experience or something.
That would have been free XP indeed, and if there's one thing that's important for the Undeads, of course, that is their hero levels and experience. So I like the Destroyers early on as well, dealing with those Water Elementals very efficiently. Also, of course, while there's still a decent number of Footmen, these footies are going to melt below the pressure of Fiends and Destroyers. So even the Riflemen are taking quite heavy damage, if focused well with the Lich minus armor. And this
The
is already
Elemental
looking...
came back!
Oh, the
And he still doesn't get it!
Oh,
Oh,
it
Rifles
expired.
and Priest.
Yeah,
Rifles
that is a
and
big
Priest
miss rally there. Free experience, free units into the hand of the Undead. And he's kind of, the wedge right now between the expansion and the main base of the human player. Constantly intercepting some units, intercepting some workers who are trying to repair the towers here and there. So this is looking like a much stronger early pressure game from ShaDai than in the previous game. Gets a militia there for his efforts. The Archmage, by the way, not nearly as pesky and strong as it was in the last game. Doesn't even have boots this time around.
Yeah.
So even the human heroes, they have to try really hard now to keep ShaDai from destroying this expansion.
Yeah, not nearly as comfortable. Deathnote looked like in a similar position, but there were significant differences, I guess. DK was already level 2, that was a difference. Fewer losses for ShaDai, less high level on the Archmage. The two Destroyers getting focused. The Destroyer getting focused. He does not pull it back on time, and it goes down to Rifle Focus Fire. The other Destroyer with 61 life now takes a coil. In the meantime, he's losing Ghouls and Fiends in the distraction.
Yeah, and another Fiend is going to fall here. The Archmage finding another target. The Priest now going into melee range. Certainly mismigrate here, but a second one still in the back line is also going to fall, though. The Dark Ranger now 3 heroes once again for the side of ShaDai. These extra skeletons are going to provide beautiful extra damage onto those riflemen in the back line here as well. DK under pressure, only has a TP, but human units are dying like flies left, right, and center. The Undead forces reigning supreme for the first time in this series. Look at the armada of skeletons really chasing down those dwarves. And right now, I think ShaDai, with the support of another statue, I think he's done it so far. He's going to easily take down those towers. And Grubby, the greedy playstyle of Deathnote, is now going to bite him. Only one tower is not going to cut it. If he had maybe played it a little bit more safely and added, those extra 2-3 towers, maybe even 2 arcanes against Undead heroes, that could have given him a much better defense.
Especially since he went straight to tier 3 after he got tier 2. It was insane. He will get a Paladin for his efforts. It's 60% of the way producing. But until then, he's got to make do with a level 2 Mountain King who cannot stand in front anymore lest he take a Coil Nova to the face.
And Grubby, here come the lads, the militia, infiltrating this fight here and reinforcing the human forces, only to die a pretty miserable death and spawning skeletons in their aftermath. Level 3 now for the Lich here. Strong level 2 Nova plays if he has enough mana. Could, of course, use the Dark Ritual just in case he really requires the additional spell damage right now. But Deathnote once again on the back foot. Coil coming through, executing another Rifleman. The peasants in the back line are free fodder at this point. The Destroyer doing God's work against the Water Elementals too, and the positioning of the Obsidian statues, the core backbone of the resustaining army of the Undeads, super immaculate right now in Deathnote. He's starting to feel that pressure. Only level 2 Mountain King, 2.5, and only a couple of Riflemen plus 2 Priests. I'm not sure if that's enough, but wow, down goes the Lich, and only 2 heroes left for ShaDai.
Oh my god, what a turn. The quick Stormbolt and Holy Light. Suddenly, DK was out of mana. There was no potion of invulnerability. ShaDai doesn't want to waste any time. Oh, he did pass the TP to the Lich, but he couldn't do it on time because he was stunned. Immediately, Tyrant rebuys. Lich is a big source of damage for Undead, so they cannot afford to wait for it to come back naturally. He's going to take a single camp, most likely a potion of invul, and attack again.
The Death Knight found a bigger healing, greater healing. Could put that on the Lich. which seems to be the main core focus target for Deathnote so far. Not only in this game, but also in the previous one, he really liked to threaten the second hero of the Undeads quite a bit. Big creep, by the way. Big creep camp coming in for the human player. Finds a Cloak of Flames. Not the best item he could have hoped for, and has to pull the TP immediately. Gets backstepped and creep-jacked here. Needs to evacuate. Where's he going to go to, though? To the expansion or the main base? Expansion it is.
Okay, so it was a thoughtful TP, not a panic one. Panic one always goes to the highest level Town Hall. Cloak of Flames, yeah, you know, it's all right. It's better than Illidan's Immolation ability. It doesn't cost mana, and it deals more damage. It's like level 2 Immolation. So it's quite good in that sense, but if you compare it to what he could have had or would have wanted, Unholy Aura, Endurance Aura, and even some Intelligence and Strength item on MK could be pretty good. Yeah, probably Cloak is bottom 2 items that he could find. Claws of Attack and Cloak, I think, are the worst maybe for him in this matchup.
Yeah, it's one of those items that if he ever needs a bigger chunk of gold right now to reproduce, it's definitely going to be sold. Even the Alarius Flute would have been nice with all those rifles, you know, provide
Can't
additional...
find it there, different level.
Oh, you can't
he
find
could
it? It's
get
a
it
different
now,
camp.
though.
My bad.
He could get it right here. Devotion Aura means that he can take D-Shield on the Paladin.
He's going to find it.
Oh, not bad, actually. Ruined Bracers.
That is quite the good item indeed. One of the few matchups where you actually want to have it.
Yeah, true. It's not usually a very coveted item, but against the Undead, it's amazing. Heroes have a natural 30% spell damage reduction, and Ruined Bracers is 33% reduction. The result is that there's almost no damage left on that hero, so it's up to ShaDai to check which hero has it and just not try to nuke them, nuke someone else.
Let me see, Grubby. How many priests do we have in the army of Deathnote? Only one that I can see right now, because ShaDai did find a Book of Dead.
Ooh,
and
one priest. If you spread the Book of the Dead quickly, it can actually get some pretty good
value. If you nuke him down
value.
first, and with a coil, maybe a Nova, and you really want to make that book work.
Yeah, that's true.
And especially, you know, in the peasant backline here, it could do terrible, terrible things to those workers, but holds on to it. You know, sometimes you can use the Book of Dead to surround someone and really create these golden hero focus moments, but so much damage coming onto those destroyers. Pulls one back, ShaDai with lightning
Good
reflexes
pullback.
here. Very well done.
Good pullback, but it came back in and died instantly. Nicely spotted by Deathnote.
The spread.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the spread is really good there with the skeletons, of course, immediately trying to diminish the priest value. And now rifle after rifle is falling. The destroyers are still unmatched here in the air, of course. Only 3 priests, inner fire coming through, immediately dispelled, of course, by the destroyers. And the Undead heroes, I think, Grubby, they're looking strong. They're trying to go for the kill here on the Death Knight, but ShaDai just too good with the reflexes here. And look at these abominations. Can't really be stopped. And the human forces are shrinking and dwindling.
Yeah, Death Knight took about 5 hits from Arcane Tower, but he still has a coil. Huge dark minions coming in here.
Yes.
290 life and 15 to 17 damage. He's now breaking through to the peasant line. He won't get long, though. The MK and the Paladin are looking lethal. They're level 3 and 3. If he takes a bolt on the DK, that's a Death Knight. Uh-oh. Oh, he passed over the Greater Healing Potion. Well done. Now he can kill every peasant and TP out.
And that's exactly what he needed to do, you know. Don't take any unnecessary risks. The game is about to shift into ShaDai's favor. So just kill all the economy, force the human player to rebuild all of that, and which keeps his army size significantly smaller, of course. TP back to safety, and, you know, recuperate a little bit, get that mana back onto your heroes. All the Undead heroes, by the way, are completely dry. Death Knight, Dark Ranger, and Lich. They need to wait a little bit, of course, with that statue regeneration. That can be done quite nicely, but a little bit of a breather now as well for Deathnote to rebuild his army. He even has a scouting tower on the left-hand side of things, just in case.
Yeah. Just in case, you know, this may be very close to Deathnote's expansion. That is exactly where an Undead might want to expand if their plan is non-stop harass. It's the one they can defend the easiest against run-bys. So it's smart to put the scout tower there. In the meantime, ShaDai never a thought in his mind that thinks about expanding. He's playing the whole base, the whole game on one base, just trying to get hero levels. He's very close to Death Knight level 5. But Deathnote is coming to challenge him for these creeps. He's got Inner Fire, 2-0 rifles, upgrades. Skeletons, in the meantime, at the expansion, murdering helpless peasants.
These dark minions, you don't want to mess with those. Not only are they much tougher than the normal skeletons, of course, their duration is also greatly increased. They are here to stay and annoy these peasants to their heart's content. These scouting towers only now becoming an arcane tower to help defend here. But for now, close one with that creep call with the red creep spot here. What did you find, actually? Let's see.
Oh, just an endurance aura. No problem, Kendric.
Deathnote still not really out of luck on the items, as we suspected earlier. Finds a casual Django.
It's the best item he could get. It's attack speed and movement speed. Movement speed is a problem for human against undead, especially once the DK gets level 4+. And he's 5. So now he's faster. His rifles are putting out even more damage with that inner fire already. And
2-0 too.
It's crazy. Now there is a TP for ShaDai, and he finds a really cool camp here. Could be another Book of the Dead. Is it going to be another bestseller page turner, or will it be something at one of the Cyclone?
Oh, he found a Mana Stone.
That's phenomenal.
Can't complain about that. In the meantime, we see Claws of Attack +9 could be passed on to the Archmage, of course. Ranged heroes usually the best targets for those claws, for those bad boys. But yeah, man, look at this Undead force, Grubby. Isn't that scary? I think it is. 3 destroyers up in the air right now. 1 obsidian statue, 2 statues on the ground. A little bit of abomination frontlining there as well. And Deathnote, he needs to think twice about where he wants to TP, or if he wants to TP at all into the main base. Because, sure, he might actually be able to repel the forces, but he can't afford to lose this many workers over and over again. Look at the Dark Minions in the base there. The Dark Ranger doing so much work. And is he really trying to go... He scouts the expansion, a potential expansion for ShaDai, sees there's none, and might actually maybe just abandon his main for now and try to go for... No, he's not going to go for a base trade, is he?
Is he gonna creep the turtle 7 bottom right? Is he gonna finish the red spot? Yeah, he's just like, my castle's got another 2000 HP left. I'll pop in when it's 400 health. I know this is a creeping game as well. Paladin 4 sounds pretty good to me. I mean, castle's 1300, 1200, 1100. This is a risky gambit.
The only explanation for this late TP from Deathnote is that, first of all, he wanted to get that last creep spot, but also right into a corner. He's huddled up. A Nova target as well. The splash damage from the destroyers. The abomination. They're surrounded. Hands up, riflemen. There is dark minions, abomination, and fiends. Everything is crumbling under the pressure. The Archmage so far away from any saving grace. That was the worst location he could have probably TP'd for, and the Undead is not going to ask twice for that lovely present on a silver platter. He's going to annihilate the human forces, and then is probably going to take the rest of the main base.
I mean, that was chilling. A full Cylance and a full Frost Nova into a ready Undead with full mana pool. That was bizarre decision making from Deathnote in what admittedly was probably a point of no return anyway. Once his entire peasant line got decimated, he finds a creep camp that doesn't even level him up, so it really wasn't that important. It was like a value camp, but it was not a milestone camp. Milestone is Paladin is now 3 instead of 2. What he achieved is Paladin is now 3.9 instead of 3.6, so basically nothing. And if you TP with like Paladin de-shielded already, it's a bit more okay. But he just TP'd and be like, whatever happens now, I accept it. And it did happen, Kendric. It did.
Deathnote, I don't want to say that, or don't say this lightly, because we know how good of a player he is, but he looked a little bit panicky in that last moment. You also could see his army rotation. The priests were, for a short moment, running towards the red camp, split from the army, so he had to manually recover them and, rally them. And then he TP'd in super late. He TP'd at one of the worst locations possible, so maybe he wasn't sure what to do. Could he fight? Can I fight this undead army, or can I not? Where do I need to TP? And sometimes when you need to make that split-second decision, especially with the keep or the stronghold being so low, the castle, it just seemed a little bit too much for him to handle at that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I get what he was roughly trying to do, and also let's not forget, they were on equal food. He was losing one base economy either way because those skeletons were there. It was never going to be an easy TP situation. Yeah. He tried to do something a little special and, maybe surprise him with the TP. Maybe he thought one priest will spawn outside of the circle and I'm going to dispel everything and then Coil Nova nuke his hero or something. Oh, sorry, Stormbolt Holy Light nuke his hero.
Yeah.
Whatever the plan was, it did not come to fruition, but he's allowed to show us what he wants to do next game on Amazonia.
Okay, Amazonia it is. One of the better maps to fast expand on if he so desires. And you gotta give a lot of props to ShaDai, though. Not only did he play against a very, almost the identical approach, actually, from Deathnote, what he just lost to so decisively. But this time, with better execution, better creep steals as well. I think really that one Ogre Magi steal helped him so much maintain that pressure. The level 2 aura was there. The DK didn't have to sacrifice as much health. And, the way he secured it as well with that fake pump coil right there, outplaying Deathnote was a true beauty, actually.
And a game winner in the end, Kendric. Yep. You correctly point out that much of the destiny of these games is determined very early on. And it doesn't mean it's definitely going to be over, but it definitely helps you to follow a standard game plan and not have to be like exceptionally phenomenal later on.
Yeah. I fully agree with you, Grubby. Okay, so...
I created the game 3 times with the wrong name, so it's correct now and what you would expect.
Okay. Here we go. It turns out that the capitalization did matter.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's new. That's new Battle.net then. Reforged Battle.net. Sorry about that.
Yeah, maybe they're already sneakily implementing some of the changes into the client before we even notice it. Just like in Heroes of a Storm, where they announced the Deathwing Cataclysm with a rumble in the jungle.
But nothing gets by you, does it, Kendric?
No, not really.
Nothing. I was shocked for a moment. Okay, don't get me wrong. If I'm still accidentally right, I didn't mean to be. But I read that press release for Deathwing and Heroes of the Storm, and it said, "Join us as we give our thoughts on how we designed this hero, balanced him, created him, to the final hero he is now on the battlefield." And I read Final Hero.
Oh!
And I was like, no more new heroes, baby rage.
Let's go out with a bang.
Until someone repasted the quote. And I realized context matters.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned that lesson before in life, but I was sad for a moment thinking it's the last hero. Again, don't get me wrong. If it still happens, then it was just a premonition. But he looks amazing, man.
He really does. He really does.
Are you a Deathwing main yet?
I don't think I'll be a Deathwing main. I'll rather be the combat Uther to holy shock him all the time.
Nice.
He looks really good though, and I think just not with Heroes of a Storm and Deathwing only, but also with Warcraft Reforged, even with the new WoW patch, that N'Zoth patch, the corruption everywhere. I think from a visual standpoint, right now all the Blizzard games can complain. Not sure about Overwatch. I'm not really into Overwatch, so other people can probably tell me about that more. But I'm feeling very happy right now about where we are. And BlizzCon 2019, I couldn't be more excited. We mentioned that earlier before, but the sheer amount of new stuff that we're about to get, it's just going to be crazy.
And I don't think you and I talked about it yet, but I'm going to be there as well, so see you there.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that. So we can go out for dinner and hang out?
Yeah, we can have some hot dogs together from the food trucks.
Nice. A real gamer's dinner. I love it.
We're still waiting for one player with a little bug. I asked him to rejoin. If that doesn't work, I'll remake.
Mm-hmm. Next map, of course, guys, will be Amazonia. A map that I personally, as an undead, don't like too much. What is your rating on the map in this matchup, Grubby?
I'm just feeling all warm and fuzzy about how well you know the meta, the matchups. You mentioned it. You said Kendric. No, you didn't say Kendric. You said, Kendric, that it is good for human to expand here, and it's true. Yeah. The rock golem is strong, but he is magic immune, so he cannot be coil stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Stale. And if human footman pulls the camp, there will be no slow and there will be no boulders thrown. It will be up to ShaDai to stop the pull so that there can be no AI abuse. If he uses an acolyte to slap the golem at the moment that Deathnote is trying to pull it, then he can disrupt that flow and it becomes a lot harder. Undead cannot make any mistakes on this map.
Yeah.
There's just no space for that. If you play a perfect game, you have a pretty decent shot. You've got a beeline to your opponent's expansion. But creeping-wise, human generally gets very far ahead on this map.
And you get so much experience, right, from those camps that are so close to you. Something that I saw our good friend Rekram post in the chat was a very legitimate question, I think, when it comes to the Mountain King skill tree, or skill of Deathnote. He went for Bash twice in a row now, and in the first game it worked quite well, no doubt about that. Yeah. But how do you feel about that? Especially with, mass fiends early on, don't you think the clap could be a little bit more valuable when it comes to slowing them down and chasing them down?
Well, I see clap often when it's Mountain King first into Blood Mage. You're going to get loads of claps. When Mountain King is second, he generally becomes a Stormbolt vehicle to allow rifle focus fire to get kills, together with Orb of Fire. I get prioritizing Bolt. And if you're MK3, which takes a long time on Fast Expo Archmage into Mountain King, if you have MK3, you're going to want to prioritize Bolt. Bolt level 1 or 2 is the difference of whether you will or will not kill a Crypt Fiend in most cases with Bolt, Rifle, Focus Fire. And if you've got Bolt prioritized, are you really going to spend 90 mana on a Thunderclap when you have no mana items, Brilliance Aura only level 1? It's tough. They're already running a pretty tight ship. Just look at Undead, they don't even expand. So they're basically putting their full force and trying to break you. Oh. I don't know that you're going to have enough mana for Bolt and go.
Oh, Grubby, look at this. I was going to violently interrupt you because we see a Lich first coming through.
It's all right, Interloper. We all make mistakes.
Holy moly. Okay, so Ghoul's opening with a Lich, of course, to support a little bit of extra pressure. And I can see a way or a world in which ShaDai is going to play this passively. I think the Lich early means just one direction and one direction only, and that is going to be harass, try to get the Nova value against all those militias, AoE splash damage and slow. It's an all-in almost, isn't it?
Yeah, yes and no. Yes, it's very high risk, high reward, and in that sense it's all in, but it doesn't have to be over after the initial... Oh, this is really well done by...
Yes.
By ShaDai. There will be no lightning shield now because okay. Well, there's a global cooldown of spells, but apparently it's only a few seconds. This is really well done by Deathnote as well. No perch on the water elemental, still gets lightning shield, deals with both camps at the same time. Nicely done, and mostly doesn't burn his own units with lightning shield. I was saying, but suddenly he does. That was about 100,
a little bit
120. I think he did about 120 points of damage on his own units with lightning shield, but still pretty well done. He's going to bring healthy footies to the expansion, most likely. But yeah, it doesn't have to be over Kendric with Lich. It doesn't have to work or lose. Eventually, if a Death Knight comes out, you still got the same heroes, right? But because it's Ghouls also and double Ziggurat, his tech is so slow. Yeah. He has invested so much more into Tier 1 that it's no longer okay to get 1, 2, or 3 peasants. The target of any Death Knight, 3 peasants. He needs to get 3 footies, 5 peasants in the next 4 minutes in order to feel okay about this game. Does Deathnote just 1 base rifle expand now? He already has far too many peasants for 1 base, so I feel like he's still expanding, and he's gonna challenge that Lich at the game that the Lich is designed to do, big Novas on big militia floods. What do you think, man?
Yeah, that's what I want to see now as well. What is Deathnote going to respond to with that one now? Is he going to go for that expansion after all? Is he going to play it more calmly now? I gotta say, the items for ShaDai, they look quite the opposite of, beneficial right now.
The opposite of good.
The opposite of good. Quite a terrible start for him there. But honestly, Deathnote doesn't really have... In German, we would say the yellow from the egg either. He doesn't really have the cream of the crop, so yeah. At least in that...
Yellow from the egg.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, he doesn't have the best. I mean, Slipper. Yeah, they both have some armor and attack speed. Like,
Yeah.
cool story, man. Okay, going for peasants when someone has like 11 on one base doesn't really get you ahead, but you do get some cool. Oh, he actually rituals a ghoul just to get more novas in. He's crazy. Somebody stop this man. Oh, yes, the TP. He's gonna lose 3 ghouls.
Oh, the beautiful surround from Deathnote here, cutting off the flight path. Doesn't even allow the Lich to TP out of there. The militias are mad and angry, rightfully so, for their lost brethren right now. And, you know, it was a cool attack on the one hand by killing a couple of peasants while the tech of the human player was there, but really losing that many ghouls and, you know, putting that much experience into the hands of the Archmage, it didn't come without cost, let's just put it this way.
Correct, and he has 8 peasants after losing...
Waking up every creep on the map, by the way.
Yeah. He has still 8 peasants, which is the target of any human on one base. He overmade peasants and reactively didn't expand because of the starting hero.
Yes.
And then ShaDai loses 3 ghouls to kill 2 peasants. Who comes out ahead in that trade? Not the Undead.
No, definitely not. And, you know, it was kind of aimed to destroy the militias while they're creeping. However, Deathnote reacted so nicely. Oh my goodness, that lightning shield, by the way, dealing so much damage onto ShaDai's hero and forces there. This is a nightmare. Such a slow start for the Undead. But yeah, it was designed to really kill and hurt a lot of workers at the same time while they were busy creeping, and he's not even going to get that rogue as it seems. Oh my goodness, ShaDai is even going to lose a ghoul here. Has to use a Nova there. The footy is probably going to say goodbye there as well. Who's going to get the rogue though? Let's see. Should normally be Deathnote if he just auto attacks with the Archmage right now, but he's busy.
True. He could have done that. He was piling on damage on the Lich. Another
so much
ghoul
agility,
loss.
by the way.
What should I... Yeah. What a game. Double ring, double slippers, gloves.
Okay, used the last of his mana to get this water elemental. Level 3 Lich now at least. Sold one of the rings and now has a Rod of Necromancy back in his inventory.
Selling a ring. I mean, he could give it to DK. DK not exactly the most amazing auto attacker that's going to be there and want the ring. I would have liked to see him keep it though. He needed the slot for a rod, so I do get it. Now, first Slaughterhouse coming up. Tech is about 20% of the way done for ShaDai. He wants that orb, obviously. And he's going to use some double hero action now. Lots of rituals on cooldown, pretty much. He's going to try and get some Nova kills. Let's see if he guesses correctly where Deathnote is. He thinks shop. But yeah, it's actually expansion now with Militia. He should go there immediately.
Yeah, if he doesn't spot this one, I think it's going to go very dire very soon for ShaDai here. He doesn't even have any forces to bring with him, but the 2 heroes alone could slow this expansion attempt down quite significantly. He still is going to get workers for his effort, though. Not at the expansion or the attempted expansion, but in the main base here. Look at those skeletons coming in through. The Death Knight still a little bit far behind. Also has a rod, of course, that he could use there. Drops a coil as well. A lot of mana is being spent here. He was probably saying that he would rather spend it rather than having it sapped from the Arcane Tower. Gets another worker here. Solid experience, solid damage being done, but the expansion, man, Grubby. Is Deathnote going to commit to it, or is he saying it's too risky right now? I think he's going to commit to it.
It's interesting. He probably wants to commit to it. He's got the lumber. He's going to need to mine about 50 extra. The 100 he has now will tide him through for a bit, but he needs about 50 more. He currently has 0 peasants on lumber at home, so there's a chance that he gets it to about 80% done, and then the other 4 will stop working. They're like, we need more wood. That was a really cool move by ShaDai to just straight up go to the main base and to hit Deathnote when he most could not afford it.
Yeah.
Work is going to stop here momentarily.
And Grubby, look at the Undead base. There's already 2 slaughterhouses. So he's going to go hardcore into the Abomination production, I think, once he hits that level 3 to counter the Riflemen that are already being there.
I think it's Mass Destroyers, mate.
You think Destroyers?
Mass Destroyers. He cannot get Storm Bolted. We see triple statue.
Ooh,
you don't go triple statue with a chance of Aboms. No, he's going to go take to the air. He actually misclicks Stone Form in the crypt. If he doesn't see that, it's a huge investment, just completely wasted. Yeah. But I expect... Yeah, like he can't even get Destroyer upgrade now because he doesn't realize he queued up a lot of lumber.
The lumber isn't there right now, and he's going to pull a large number of ghouls as well to help him creep now, so this could really bite him. This could really delay... Oh, he canceled it now. Okay.
Yeah, he saw it. He saw it. So he's got his lumber back. I think that's like 175 lumber. It's something fierce.
It's crazy expensive. Madfrog would probably know exactly how much it costs.
Yeah, he's our guard dude.
Fun little backstory here, by the way, guys. We were very interested in playing or having Madfrog play in this series against Deathnote. Unfortunately, he's busy working this weekend, so he couldn't. But good news on the other side, he was very interested in showing up in the fight night at some point. So do not fear for all the Madfrog old school Undead lovers out there. We may have him on the show at some point.
The last time we saw Madfrog compete was in February 2018, and he had practically not touched the game, so he didn't remember standard builds. He's got so much more experience now. Even beat Todd recently on the ladder in a fairly long game. He's been beating Nate Paul on ladder, so it's pretty cool if we can ever get this legend on the show. Now, 4 statues are here. I wonder if Deathnote saw that. He's going to need to have a workshop, but here's the cool thing, and now I understand why ShaDai prioritize not creepjacks, but lumber decimation, peasant kills. Keep going to the main. That first time with the 3 ghouls for the 2 peasants, it may not have been a good trade, but it was in line with his vision for this game. Mass destroyers, how do you stop them? Either mass towers or with flying machines. You need workshops for that. Rifles are not going to cut it. So he's going for the rifles now. The only thing that can stop destroyers. DK does have invulnerability potion, he uses it.
Okay, the DK dropping the emergency button immediately. Needs to be careful, though. This time, by the way, the Mountain King with claps, so additional burst damage is there. The Archmage says goodbye as well. Could really save the main hero, the human that is. He tries to go after the undead heroes himself there. The Mountain King is still a decent number of mana points in his repertoire. Goes for the level 4 Lich. Is he going to equalize the score? Oh my god, it was just 1 or 2 auto attacks. The clap, not strong enough. And the DK and the Lich, they both survive. So many units were killed in the process too. Deathnote with heavy losses right there. And you mentioned it, Grubby. The lumber deficit, he's trying to equalize that now with a shredder. He bought one, has it in the base next to the lumber mill, so hopefully for him we can see some more anti-air units, because those destroyers, man, they're unrivaled right now. Only 2 puny rifles here. No shop at the expansion, by the way. This Archmage, if he gets focused again, could be an easy prey.
Why does he get Dark Ranger? Silence? Does he have silence? Can you see it?
Let's see. No, he went for Dark Arrow.
Why get Dark Ranger when you're massing Destro and the only thing that could beat you is mass flying machines? I would expect him to get Panda or Dreadlord, but maybe it makes sense. He just wants a lot of skellies. He says, Destroyers is my current win condition, but eventually it'll be Dark Minions. I respect that. Wow, Archmage TP's out. He knows he needs more time. He's got double workshop coming up. He's got a decent bank. Deathnote is going to have to spam flying machines. He's going to need at least, what do you think, 12?
Yeah, he's going to need at least double the numbers, and not even that is probably going to cut it. So I think a 3-to-1 ratio is needed. Yeah. So 10 to 12 against all these destroyers, but I mean, ShaDai is not done yet. He's currently producing more Obsidian statues that are, of course, going to be morphed into destroyers. Now, of course, next to the air superiority, he's also going to have a massive ground force with those Dark Minions, with the ghouls coming in, with Ghoul Frenzy. I think right now, ShaDai may have actually cracked the defenses. Flying machines are now being produced out of 1 workshop only. No, 2 actually there. At the bottom, there's another one. And
well,
in the
well, no, you're right. 1, because you know what? He didn't realize that he was going to get supply blocked.
Oh,
he was
because of the expansion
max.
falling.
Yeah, I saw him making that mistake. I mean, Town Hall was going to go down. You have to make farms when that happens.
Yeah.
He got stuck at 48. Now power builds. It slowed down his flyings. Now he's going to lose income because of that. And even if Deathnote stabilizes and starts to make an aerial force to match that of Deathnote's, eventually...
Why is he sending in those flying machines? They're all going to die.
They're fast, though. You're going to take a hit. You're going to run. They have no mana. He's going to corral them into his rifles. That's 1 kill.
Okay, that's 1. The second one barely escapes there. Deathnote probably not even thinking he could get a second one. So that was a mighty fine trade, you know, with a nice interception course to cut off the flight path with ranged units. I like that move. The threat has been stalled, but it's not been completely dispelled yet. So there's still a possibility, you know, for ShaDai to recollect the forces, to get those ghouls back in there. The damage has been dealt. Now it's 1 base versus 1 base, but I think Deathnote knows now exactly what's coming. The element of surprise is gone, and let's see what he can do in a standard fight. Flanking maneuver from the flying machines. They're cheap, they're fast, and they're quickly reproduced.
I thought you were going to bow on another adjective. And they're out of blood. Yeah, no, it's true. But here's the thing: if you have mass flying, in theory, if they trade evenly with destroyers in a 20-second fight, let's say Undead doesn't take that fight. Undead creeps with destroyers, but you can't use flyings to creep. So you've got like half your army that can't speed up your creeping. And there's still 3.5 camp. No, there's still about 5-6 camps left on the map.
Mm-hmm.
I guess most of those cannot be crept with destroyers too. Like 3 of them are magic immune. So, all
Yeah,
right, it's not actually that
yeah.
much of a problem.
Especially the red camps at this point are very hard to actually creep when you're the Undead with an army composition like this. Beautiful skeleton scouts, by the way, coming in from ShaDai. Not only spotting the expansion, but also slowing down the power build once again. At this point, both players are trying to maximize their forces to bolster their inventory a little bit. Rune braces now on the Mountain King here. Very nice find. Both players are very close to each other without probably noticing it. So there could be an escalation in combat happening at any given point.
And Kendric, Runed Bracers again for Deathnote. Very, very good item.
Good item.
For him.
Great amount though in the DK. Can't complain about that.
The best as well. Just don't focus MK and he'll be fine.
All right, the
destroyers
Archmage is a little bit far away. Couldn't even TP if he wanted to. Mountain King gets a level up there. The destroyers are getting absolutely pummeled up in the air. Can't even hold their own here. And the rifles are dominating. The Lich is getting double smacked by that Mountain King. He even has an invul. Needs to pop it immediately, though. And this could be the retaliation strike window for the Undead. But look at the human forces, Grubby. They're just overwhelming. They're just outnumbering everything right now.
Nice thunderclap, but Archmage has to TP out. Destroyer goes down. He's killed every destroyer, and this is very significant. Oh, nice. The ghouls did some disruption, but they didn't actually get most of the peasants. A very good presence of mind for Deathnote to realize that he shouldn't TP home, but actually TP to achieve 2 goals at once. Excuse me. Save his heroes, and also to save his expansion. That was a very cheeky expansion he squeezed out. He did kill all 3 destroyers, and now ShaDai says, okay, fine. You have air superiority. I wasn't interested in it anyway. And he switched to abominations. And I think ShaDai has a big lead here. Lich is level 5, Kendrick.
That is such a sick tech switch, man. Really abandoning the destroyers for now with all those flying machines swirling up in the air and now going for those big bad boys, the abominations, which are so strong against the rifles. Such an additional front line that he needs for the ranged damage dealers, you know, the Undead forces to really unleash all of their might. The Lich, the Dark Ranger, those are really the carries in these fights right now. Deathnote here with his last stand really trying to hold this expansion at any given cost. The Shredder even being pulled there, dying as we speak. The Abomination's taking some damage. The Archmage, though, the infamous Nova Coil seals the deal, and the Challenger once again reigns supreme, Grubby. 2-1 for ShaDai with a really interesting approach with that Lich first into Destroyer into Abominations.
Yeah, finishing it off with the 360 no scope Coil Nova. Deathnote goes down. Very interesting game. Brainy tech switches by ShaDai, and sometimes poor trades nonetheless aligning itself with common purpose towards lumber deprivation tactics into mass destroyers with the attempt of keeping flying machines at bay. That was actually really smart economic play. Even experience showing with a Lich 1 versus 1 base situation. Even though Deathnote did expand twice, the big thing is he stopped Deathnote from his favorite tactic. Immediate fast expo. That's what the Lich achieved. Smart play. Deathnote, can he deal with this next time he meets this build? Because right now, his economy was in shambles. He got owned economically. And we're going to go to game number 4 with a 2-1 advantage for ShaDai, our challenger.
ShaDai, could he pull off a Deathnote here? Could he do exactly what Deathnote did 2 weeks ago against Napo? You know, dethrone the champion, coming in as a slight underdog when it comes to, you know, maybe popularity or, you know, overall estimation of skill power level. But yeah, man, we're going to go to Concealed Hill, as I see that is the second map for Deathnote. I wouldn't have expected him to go all the distance, but you know, undeads are a strong matchup against humans, and Deathnote, he was he was very vocal in the interview that we had. I don't want to say he whined too much about it, but he was very vocal about how he didn't like the matchup and he thought it was imba in many ways.
It's funny because when I play with human, I feel like Undead is the easiest compared to every matchup.
Oh, you think so? You're not getting owned 24/7 by Carrion Swarm?
No, no, I'm not. Like when you go Manta King first, Undead doesn't seem that scary. Manta King, Blood Mage. We haven't seen Deathnote deviate his heroes yet.
Yeah.
Against Nate Ball, he won one with MK, then lost one with MK. He played Archmage 3 times. This time he hasn't switched it up yet. And there's always a risk, Kendric. You know this. In a best of 5, if you play the same 5 times in a row, you're going to get punished for it.
Yeah.
Because the opponent just gets comfortable. All the builds they prepared versus standard will become valid. So will Deathnote ever switch it up? Now, I'm not saying go Manta King on Concealed Hill. This is not a good map for it. There's no Mer Camp, so you have no anti-air. If you go Manta King and the opponent floods Gargoyles, it can be quite tough. So this is an Archmage map. Deathnote has to earn this if he wants to potentially show something else in game number 5.
Imagine a Mountain King first in that last game. Against all the ghouls with a Lich there potentially as well. Do you think that would have done better?
If you randomly just go MK on Amazonia and he doesn't expect it, it's not like he can unmake Lich. Like you already made it. Like this is not a decision that's reactive. So you would be stuck with a 475 health hero against MK. Is quite risky.
All right, let's see what Deathnote has planned here. He's with his back against the wall. Grubby said this is not really a map where you can shy away from the Archmage. So the options may be limited for Deathnote. Let's see if he comes up with a surprise nonetheless. Maybe a different style, maybe a one-base play from the get-go. But let's see what also ShaDai is going to bring to the table here. Goes for an altar crypt, just like we saw in all these games so far. Goes for a very unique SimCity there as well, building these buildings so far out in the open.
Not just that, but the order is different. He's gone altar crypt, then ziggurat. Which means he might be playing mass creeping, like DK level 2 before anything, or he's going Dreadlord. Let's see.
Oh. Going for the Dreadlord, Grubby. This could mean fast expansion attempt for the Undead.
Yeah, it could. This is not an easy map to Dreadlord expand because the camp is so difficult. It is up to Deathnote to scout it. Now, there is something cool an Undead can do, Kendric. If you go Dreadlord, a footman scouts you, you sleep around it, you kill it, then you just don't expand. What does human do? They creep to level 1.7, or 1.8 it is on this map, and they immediately harass you because they can't let you expand so early. And then you wait for them and you sleep around the Archmage and you just play one base style. Maybe you expand a tier 2. It's really...
Sends his Archmage down a little bit further to the south. The militias are going back to the base, and he's expecting an expansion on the bottom right-hand side, you know, with the Dreadlord going there immediately. He doesn't really do it so far. Instead, he pulls the Ghoul, does a little bit of a creep trick here as well, that prevents the Rock Golem from... no, never mind, forget what I just...
Well, he slipped the Trapper too early, so this is a little bit random. He's just reducing auto-attack damage, but he's not actually stopping spells. It's fine, though. So what Deathnote is doing here is... This is ShaDai pressing his buttons. He has forced Archmage to go bottom right. Look at this. Finding nothing. In the meantime, it's like I said, he's doing one base Dreadlord play. Soon he will tech once he has enough lumber. Or, I don't know, like, he's got 200... He's got 138 lumber. I don't really know what. Like, he's got Dreadlord level 2. Did he take Swarm, Kendric?
Let's actually see what he went for at level 2. He hasn't chosen anything yet, so he's probably holding on to it right now, depending on if there's a bigger scuffle with footies against ghouls, maybe with a vampiric aura. But I see what you're saying. I think the Carrion Swarm might actually be a fine solution here if he's not planning on expanding immediately, and instead trying to go for a Ras maybe into the main base, you know, while the tech is there, trying to get some extra peasants with Skellies and Swarm. But now there's gonna... Oh, Swarm, he picked it right now. So...
Okay.
Carrion Swarm is ready, and the Creep Jack is there as well.
Okay, so he's probably just gonna try and mostly defensively micro, save his ghouls, bit of damage on the Footman, but he's actually the target of the Creep's attacks. That's one ghoul down. Deathnote positioning very smartly here. Taking damage on one footy, that one is low. Carrion Swarm could finish him. There we go. It's 1 for 1 so far. Even trades. Surround attempt on the Archmage, and he gets it.
He gets it indeed. The Water Elemental was not removed in time there. Only one skeleton, but immediately moves the Dreadlord into the skeleton's location, so he can't get out of there. Another Carrion Swarm coming through. A Footman dies as well. The creeps are super strong, though, fully buffed up with Inner Fire and Bloodlust, but I think the Undead Forces will be the laughing victors in this scuffle, trying to go for the Ogre Mage now as quickly as possible, but this guy is tanky. Even sleeps the Trapper to lower the DPS coming out from those neutral critters, and he finds the item, he gets the experience. Level 3 sleep is going to be so much cheaper now, so much more affordable, and can be cast even more, unless he wants to go for Carrion Swarm 2. No, he goes Carrion Swarm 2. Okay.
Yeah, should be Carrion Swarm 2. I mean, all you do with sleep is make it shorter. Like, you make it last longer, but you can wake people up anyway, and it's less mana. You want that Swarm level 2. 2 Swarms, Peasants dead. Pretty cool. I want to point out a little bit of sloppiness there from ShaDai. He lost a ghoul to creeps nearly a second, and he was required... Oh, we lost the stream for a bit. I don't know if there's something you can do about it.
It's weird because Discord is still live, so hopefully it'll be back soon. Sometimes we have the OBS issues, but yeah, let's see how it behaves for now. I'm gonna keep an eye on the situation here. If not, I do have a second connection ready. Haha. We can switch the cables very quick. But now, Grubby, we see...
Internet is fine. It might be a Twitch thing or...
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. It's back. Great.
We should be back, yeah. Sometimes we have these little scuffles, but... Yeah, guys, man. We see the cheeky Tier 2 expansion coming in from ShaDai here. Expanding when the human doesn't suspect it, and already spending a lot of resources into it. Necropolis immediately, Ziggurat there as well, Haunted Goldmine, and with the hero levels on the Dreadlord going not really without, you know, not really harassed or anything, he can hold this very nicely, I think.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, you know, he lost 2 ghouls, he killed 2 ghouls, he killed 2 footmen, so that was fine. And he forced the Archmage to TP, so right now Archmage is a lot more nervous about committing his position on the map. Sleep is still a threat, even though an Archmage 3 with a Mountain King to protect him is a little bit safer. Tier 3 now by Deathnote, so... Alright, so he's hardcore committing to one base. And that is exactly, I'll tell you what ShaDai wants. Because he's gonna be up a base.
Yeah. And this initiation here by ShaDai is so nice. One, it damages the human units, maybe even kills a worker here and there, but most importantly, it keeps the human where he wants him to be. And that is inside of his base, inside of his half of the map, so the expansion on the undead side of things goes through uninterrupted. The footy scouted it, by the way, but there's already a Nerubian tower. A second Ziggurat is going to be morphed relatively soon there as well. I think should be a Spirit Tower, could be 2 Nerubs, depending on how he wants to do it. And the Dreadlord just keeps being a thorn in Deathnote's side. Always annoying, always occupying him. And what can Deathnote do?
Should it be a thorn? He has no mana for Swarm. He's got no Staff of Telly if he gets bolt surrounded. He's got 2 half HP ghouls. Is Deathnote being overly cautious? He was just standing there be like... Was it like trauma from Swarm in Peasant lines? But there is no mana.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's too afraid of what the Undead could possibly throw at him. He's going for another creep camp right here.
He tries to use Invis Dreadlord to steal things, but he's just a bit too late.
Oh, no! Oh, he slapped it! Oh, he's gonna steal it! Sneaky level over 9,000. He's going to use the staff right now. No more Stormbolt to interrupt it. The Archmage is just standing there in disbelief, and that couldn't have been executed any better way, Grubby.
I don't get why he sells Wand of the Mana Steal. I mean, that
would have been great.
He's
got 2 base economy. He doesn't need the gold.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't make any sense. He needs the slot, sell the freaking Gloves of Haste. Wand of Mana and then he...
Hey, when you got the money, you might as well just throw it all away in style, you know? Who needs a stolen neutral item that you worked so hard? You know, you bought the Invis potion as
Look,
well.
Wand of Mana steals 100, gets 100. What's the advantage of you to your opponent? 200. You sell it for 200, you get a mana potion, costs 200, but it only gets you 150. What happened to the other 50, Kendric?
Oh my goodness, he gets a footman now as well. He's not going to get the level 7 Ogre Lord. No way he's going to get that item now. That would have been outrageous indeed. But he's now hunting those priests. He's basically playing a one-man army, the Dreadlord. However, is out of mana right now, so definitely needs to go back for now. He's a speedy boy with boots of speed. And what army is he brewing in his base? Because Deathnote hasn't seen any units for a long period of time right now. He's going straight to tier 3. He has 1 crypt, 1 slaughterhouse. Could maybe go for additional production facilities. Nothing super fancy, though, at this point.
Yeah, he's got 2 towers. He's preparing a potential 3rd. Why 3rd Necropolis, by the way? I don't know why. He's just made a 3rd Necropolis. I know why. Body blocking, and he's low on lumber. It's food as well. But interesting decision. Yeah, he doesn't have enough production facilities, Kendrick. You said it. Maybe a 2nd crypt coming up now?
Yeah.
And there we go. Mass Goals with Frenzy is the name of the day.
ShaDai is probably going to think, you know, if you don't want to take your expansion, I shall take it for you. And he steals it away. Of course, he gives Deathnote a little bit of time to creep the red spots. Very good. Finds a Lion or a Stormwind. Meh. With a Paladin and Tau, he could go for a Divine Shield now if he wanted to, or he's going to sell it. Either way, it's going to be beneficial, because money is definitely something Deathnote needs.
No. Yeah, now he will definitely go D-Shield when he levels up.
Yeah.
There aren't that many creeps left for Deathnote here, so I'm assuming a push on the expansion is coming up. And there is no Ghoul Frenzy yet, Kendrick. There's not enough lumber to start it.
Yeah.
He hasn't started it. He's getting Destro upgrade. ShaDai has a dramatic lack of gold usage this game. 1,000 gold, late on upgrades, late on 2nd crypt. He's got all the money in the world, but did he invest enough to protect it? Did he put it in a safe deposit? I don't know, man.
And finally, Deathnote is coming out of his cave. You know, finally he's brave enough to venture forth and scout out what the Undead has to offer right now. Other humans, when they spot it, or if they had spotted this earlier, they would have gone for a strong timing attack. And they would have definitely tried to inflict more damage. Now, the towers are standing, the saving grace potentially for this Undead expansion, and we see a counterattack being launched from ShaDai right now. The Carrion Swarm hits huge right now, is completely out of mana, so not too many workers should fall on the human side of things. In the meantime, we see Deathnote trying to pummel those Acolytes and then take out the Ziggurats. But the Ziggurats are now being fortified, 2 Spirit Towers. This is a very dangerous situation for Deathnote if he overcommits.
So he lost all of his ghouls almost, and he killed very few peasants. He is holding nicely with his towers. There is no siege damage. And there we go with the Spirit Focus Fire on the Priest. Will he lose it? Yes, he will. That's 1 priest down. Can we get a 2nd? Going once, going twice, no Focus Fire.
Yeah, needs to be very careful with these unarmored units, but he gets a lot of Acolytes for his efforts right now, Grubby. That is precious experience. It's crippling the income as well. And only ghouls up in this point. There's a Mountain King with Clap eagerly awaiting them. By the way, did he go Clap too? Yes, he did. So this is going to be a one-man Clapper Punch army. And if there's too many ghouls surrounding a Mountain King, you shouldn't even try that in the first place. But yeah, you want to stay away from that dwarf as much as you can. Destroy is finally there to help with the water elementals. And what is going to be the extra reinforcements? In my opinion, he should just keep producing a couple of ghouls, because once again, his lumber income is crippled.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna devour every water elemental. He's got Carrion Swarm on other things.
Did he just use a Scroll of Healing on a full HP army?
Yep. He did use the Scroll of Healing. He double slept an Archmage while failing this round. And yeah, didn't Carrion Swarm once yet. There we go. Why is he spending everything on sleep? He's got Carrion Swarm. Kill the rifles. And he has Heal Scroll not available because he used one already. It's on cooldown. Now it's available again, but he already lost loads of ghouls.
These ghouls are probably going to be so angry at their leader. They're probably just too weak to really announce it. But yeah, this misclick really, really crippled the undead advances of ShaDai, man. He couldn't heal the ghouls when they were clapped. He lost so many units right there. And Deathnote, despite being behind in economy for such a long time right now, has a stronger army, if it comes to a head-to-head fight, and is actually looking stronger all across the board right now. A cheeky Deathnote surround on that Rifleman will give him a little bit of extra momentum, but it's probably not going to be enough.
Every unit kill for ShaDai is one step closer to the ancient prophecies and to the infernals raining down from the sky. Dreadlord is gaining 30% bonus experience for every kill on account of him being tier 3 with a single hero. That's a Warcraft 3 mechanic. So he's just farming kills here and there. He's in no rush. 2 bases versus 1. It's Deathnote who's playing under the gun and who's trying to stay alive. Big Carrion Swarm potentially coming in on the gold mine here.
There it comes. That's a lot of blood being shed in the base of Deathnote. A lot of experience trickling into the inventory of the Dreadlord. He got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 workers up at this point. He gets the last worker on the lumber there as well. I think he has a TP, just in case things get really sour. He might even get the Arcane Tower, additional experience as well. And in the meantime, we see, oh, cheeky move, by the way, with that Necropolis, denying Deathnote the ideal location for that Town Hall.
Yep. And nice vision. This is 4th Necropolis, by the way.
Okay, so here we go. Is of course being destroyed now. He didn't really expect that to go through, but it's a nice diversion, nice distraction.
Yeah, that was an interesting decision.
But Deathnote is broke, Grubby. He can't power build.
Oh my god, that's true.
Wow.
0 gold.
Whew.
That's rough. Dreadlord is 88 experience away from level 6. I think that's a single water elemental. Deathnote needs to take a knife and stab it in his W key. Do not summon water elemental or the ancient prophecies.
And with that double income, of course, he can buy all the mana pots in the world that he needs. He has a decent mana household right now, 465 max. He has the boots. He's got 2 scrolls of healings, and he's just going to mass the cheapest unit in the game, the Ghoul, right now on the Undead side of things. And with mass Ghouls, a couple of Destroyers, and a Dreadlord soon to hit level 6, summoning the big bad Infernal. It's probably the Infernal alone is something that I think the current army and the current heroes of Deathnote have nothing to put up against. Magic immune, can't be stunned, not enough damage. It's going to melt those rifles like they were gummy bears. And yeah, let's see if it's actually going to
German of you. Big fight coming in here. He gets 1 rifleman. He's 10 XP away.
The water elemental. There it is. Level 6 Dreadlord. And where is the impact going to be? Right there in the backline of the human army. He sleeps. The Mountain King, no claps for you, sir. The Dispel is good, but I think at this point the Undead forces are raining absolute terror down from the skies and from the ground there as well. I mean, there's hardly any location on the map where ShaDai is not dominating right now. Keep in mind, if he wins that next engagement, if he destroys the human expansion, this could very well be the victory in this best of 5, guys. The champion, Deathnote, with a black eye already bruised and battered. Can he hold in a last stand?
It's gonna be tough. I mean, Archmage, Paladin, MK, they're pretty healthy, but there are a lot of disposable ghouls here. There's an Infernal chasing. Dreadlord now gets level 7. Will he upgrade Sleeper? Will he finally get Vampiric Aura? Nice Thunderclap here for Deathnote. He's mining with 3 peasants. It's dire straits here for our human player. Our one-time Fight Night champion is being potentially ousted here by the first next challenger he met by the next challenger he met.
Yeah, absolutely. He micros the Infernal away, and now the Ghouls, of course. With a 2-base economy, it doesn't even matter. I think Deathnote is just trying to hold on for as long as he can, but Grubby said it, man. Only 3 workers. He's just trying to destroy this Infernal by any means necessary. No units left. This is definitely ShaDai taking the victory for the Undead forces yet again. Only a couple of measly units in the human base. I think Deathnote is just in disbelief that he is likely going to lose his hard-earned victory and the crown that he worked so hard for once again to his nemesis race, as he said it in the interview, the Undead race.
Yeah. It's Game of Thrones king rotation up in here in Fight Night. It's a dangerous position to hold. People have it out for you, and ShaDai has been hired by exotic undead forces to take down our current king of the Fight Night.
After the people, they rioted against King Nepo, And now with the constant turmoil and so many usurpers and kingslayers, they probably remember and reminisce back about the good old times when King Napo sat on his throne and things were nice and consistent, you know?
Yeah. Why can't we have an undead king, the people are saying? They'll be just. They're the great equalizer.
They're definitely not going to cull us.
No.
If our wheat ever gets infected. Definitely not.
They like more friends. Undead always like to make more friends. The more the merrier. And look how many ghouls there are here. Carrion Swarm, whoa!
Oh,
Big
so
one.
much damage and so many friends to play with here. The Undead forces are trickling in, and Deathnote, is he going to finally call it? I don't think so. He's trying to go for the red drake, perhaps finding an item to really swing the tide. The Sobi Mask is a nice item, but what are you going to do with the Sobi Mask when there's no more units to get the job done here? The castle is about to fall. Deathnote, the sad heroes, they realize too late that the base is going to fall, and the impact they're going to have is likely close to be 0. 1 Dreadlord to rule them all. Look at the items as well. Fully designed to keep those ghouls as healthy as possible. Scroll of Protections, 2 Scroll of Healings. He goes for the Archmage, which has no protection left anymore. The Infernal number 2 rains down from the sky as well, stuns the Archmage, and that is going to be the end of it. Another heal from the Paladin in a last-ditch effort. Level 8 for the Dreadlord. Nerothos is the king of this battlefield, and I think that should be it. It's only a question of time. Deathnote refuses to let go, but we can count the losses. We're going to see a couple of human units die here. Always nice to see.
Just a flesh wound, says Deathnote. Have at you. I'll bite you. And that's about all he can do right now.
Even an expansion in the middle of the map now, on the concealed hill.
Why not expand top left? GG! Oh, ShaDai. I have never really seen him play much, but he showed a pretty intelligent brand of play here. Lich first in the 3rd game, and then Dreadlord, not expansion, while actually creeping the Goblin Laboratory. And there was no special goal about the Laboratory, Kendric. It's not like he was playing Sapper, Shredder, or Zeppelin shenanigans. He just wanted a good camp, guaranteed to be away from where the human had to go. So clever.
Yeah. And we have to be honest with you guys as well. ShaDai was not our initial choice when it came to the challengers, you know. We don't want to discredit him and his skill, of course, but we were looking at other Undead players, and only after 1 or 2 refusals because of work, because of, you know, other real-life appointments did we say, you know what? Let's actually give ShaDai a chance. And it's really cool to see how he hasn't disappointed us, you know, how he showed up strong and he didn't make regret us our choice. Because when we have a relatively unpredictable candidate, to say the least, there's always a chance of a quick 3-0, which is not really a whole lot of fun to neither you guys out there or the casters.
Yeah, it's exactly like Kendrick said. I was afraid after Deathnote's first win, be that as it may, that it was on Echo Isles, that it could have been a 3-0. And I was mentally preparing what we were going to say after putting up what I thought maybe is a rookie against Deathnote, who just prepared too well, looked too strong, and was going to take 3-0. And I was going to shrug and say, sometimes it happens. 3-0. You know, grats to Deathnote. He's a cool guy, deserves it, gets, we'll try to find someone stronger next time. But it wasn't to be like this at all. ShaDai took the opportunity that was reached to him, and he made really, really good on it. And now he is the winner of our fight night. Really cool that he got that chance.
Yeah.
You reached out to him. He agreed, Kendrick. And now we're going to have to find someone that will be a good match for ShaDai.
Yeah, and of course, if you guys want to get involved and if you guys want to let us know what your favorite players are, which matchups you prefer, you know, there's always a chance of interacting. Feel free to reach out to Grubby, myself, or HeroesHearth Warcraft 3 on Twitter. You can also let us know on the YouTube channel that we've got going for you guys in the comments section down below what you want to see. Simply go to YouTube, HeroesHearth Warcraft 3, and you should definitely find the VOD as well. If you tuned in a little bit too late and you didn't catch all the earlier games, you can definitely go there as well. It's a nice place to get your daily Warcraft 3 fix. And yeah, Grubby, I'm really happy that we got to see a cool series, 3-1 in favor of ShaDai. Undead versus Human, I think, is so action-packed because you have very little downtime. There's constant brawling and skirmishing going on. And before we sign off, guys, before we release you, feel free to also check out our sponsors down below, Cylance and Ridgebake. Feel free to follow this channel here on Twitch for the next fight night and all the other content that we've got going on. On behalf of myself, I would like to say thank you very much for watching, and the final words go over to Grubby as per usual.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Hope we kickstart your weekend off to a really good start. Keep in mind, next weekend will be BlizzCon. A lot of cool news coming up for Blizzard game fans. I know we've got Warcraft 3 fans here, and we've got Heroes of the Storm fans, and undoubtedly more as well. Both Kendric and myself are going to be there, but in 2 weeks from now, that's going to be the next fight night. And if we're very lucky, it will be the first fight night in Reforged Beta Jacket. That's going to look so snazzy. So don't miss it. Make sure to follow this channel, and we'll see you then.